Now, the sum of your beliefs, the big sort of, summary of your beliefs is what we would call your mindset. Or we could call it your philosophy of life, insofar as that philosophy of life is lived. I use both phrases, philosophy of life or mindset. I like the word mindset because a philosophy of life can be unlived. But I'm talking about a philosophy of life that's lived. So I call it a mindset. The Buddha said that your life is the product of your thoughts. And if we keep going with our exploration, we'll see that mindset, as I say, does not merely determine how you experience things or how you react or what reactions you get in turn. But as I said before, it's fundamental to who you become and to how the world forms itself around you. You are creating who you'll be tomorrow by your mindset, and you're creating the kind of world you'll live in tomorrow by your mindset. Of course, Epictetus, the philosopher I mentioned before, his most famous statement was, there are things that are in our control and things that are outside of our control. And I think that's the most fundamental piece of wisdom, the starting piece. So what we're talking about is something that's in your control, at least much more than you may realise. Cultivate a great mindset and take action, and your life will look very different 5 years from now. And not just emotionally, but objectively. You'll be the better person which your mindset expresses. And you will achieve things and attract people that fit that mindset. The beautiful thing about all this is that this is the great thing. You can change your mindset. It's not fixed. You have great power over your experiences, but also over your character and also over where you end up in life, because they're driven by your mindset, especially over time, and you can change your mindset, especially over time. So let's do that. Take out your journal. We're going to start by applying Albert Ellis's ABC model to what you wrote in the last chapter when you divided the page into those three columns. Situations, which here equates to activating event, and into negative responses, which here equates to consequences, and also into positive responses, which also equate to consequences. See, so what you wrote in those three columns really just amounted to the first and the third of Albert Ellis's thing, the stimulus and response, activating event and consequences. But in each of the sets of things that you wrote, the sets of stimulus and response that you wrote, we're going to divide the situation and the responses according to this ABC model by reflecting on and then writing down the belief which lies between each of them causing the response, the belief that lies between each situation or stimulus and response. Okay, so take your journal and do that. How'd you go with that? Here's something I could add to that. I might have said this before you started, but I'm saying it now. When it comes to your current negative responses, you're describing negative beliefs that you already have. Now, they may be unclear and may require some introspection and even some speculation for the time being. And when it comes to your new positive responses, the ones that you desire to have, you're creatively choosing what beliefs you want to possess instead. You're picking out the best ones you could have. My criterion for this is always two, and it's that they should be as true as possible and beneficial as possible. Hopefully you can see the ways that your beliefs cause you to feel and react in certain ways, to experience life in certain ways, and to go in certain directions. These are small examples, but your mindset or philosophy of life operates in the same way with respect to the whole of your life. So the examples you've just worked with are smaller, but this applies to the whole of your life. The beliefs you're talking about were small beliefs with small consequences, but it also applies to your philosophy of life and to the consequence that is your life. Your big belief is the collection, the sum of your smaller beliefs. Now, the problem is that if you're like me and everybody whom I've ever helped in counselling, your philosophy is a mishmash of deep insights as well as bad, unexamined beliefs which make your life shit in certain ways. So it's really time to examine your philosophy of life, to examine your mindset deeply and to choose precisely what you want to be so that you can make your life better. This is something we're doing today, and this is something you need to make a habit of in your life. You need to become a philosopher in this sense, in this deep, this simple but profound way. You don't have to become an academic philosopher. You don't have to become well-read. You have to observe life and yourself deeply and reconfigure yourself, shape yourself to embody this better philosophy, to become the consequence of this better philosophy. So start by reminding yourself of who you want to be and what life you want. That's your direction, that's your purpose. Then view your purpose, view your direction as the consequence, with the big C, the consequence of your overall belief, the ABC model. And your belief is the mindset or philosophy. So your life is going to be the consequence of your belief, which is to say your mindset or philosophy. And now take your pen and start writing. I'm encouraging you to be as messy as you like, but start laying out your philosophy of life. This should be pretty fun to do for most people. It can be hard, okay? So some people find it a bit challenged. Gosh, how am I going to do this? Just get started. Just let it start rolling off the pen. There's no mistakes here. It's about really just starting to creatively move into seeing this and thinking about it and formulating it. I'll give you some questions if you're a bit stuck, but you don't have to use them. Just get creative and just think big. Okay, so you could finish off this sentence. Here's the first half of the sentence. The purpose of life is. And you can just write whatever you want about that. We can keep writing answers to that. And it's fine if you think that life has no intrinsic purpose. That's okay. You can still do this without problem, because what I'm asking you to do is create the purpose. If you think life has intrinsic purposes, fine, pull out some of those. If you think it has no intrinsic purpose, fine, create some. Whether it's a matter of finding purpose or creating purpose, answer this question. The purpose of life is. Okay, here's another one you can play with. This is what human nature is like. Finish that. Go on with that sentence. Obviously, pause between these questions if you want, or come back and pause between them. Here's another one. These things are worth sacrificing everything else for. What are those things? Finish this sentence. These things, what are they? Are worth sacrificing everything else for. Here's another. Suffering has these values or uses. Tell us what these are, right? Suffering has certain values or uses. What are they? If you think that it does have those. Here's another one. This is my potential. Tell us what this is. What is your potential? Talk about that. This is what I need to think and feel and do in order to achieve my potential. And think about this in big picture. It's like working on your purpose in life. We're looking at, you're a human being. As a human being, what do you need to think? What do you need to feel? What do you need to do in order, then also to achieve your particular potential? I want to cultivate such and such values and qualities because they lead to such and such outcomes in my life. Think about that as well. Again, at the big picture level. Okay, and here's the last one, and this is again, you're playing with philosophy here, and that's good. That's actually, Aristotle said philosophy begins in wonder. He was absolutely right. Don't worry about getting this right or wrong. You don't actually get it right or wrong. It's about good answers, better answers. You move toward better answers. You never get it fully right or wrong. Speaking, at one level, that's true. At one level, you never get it fully right and wrong. Okay, so here's one last one. These are the wisest sayings. Now, these can be sayings you've heard, or just as validly make them up. These are the wisest statements. What are the wisest statements? How would you summarize the wisest points about life? What are they? If your child was about to kind of I don't know, step into a spaceship and go to another planet. They want the wisest sayings from you. Write these down. What are they? Just see what other questions you can think up even, just let the pen flow. Here's a way, I guess, of sort of thinking about this, and that's imagine what would happen if you pictured the best life that you could live and then you set about making that happen. That's what this is about. Imagine what would happen if you pictured the best life that you could live and then you set about making that life happen. Write about that life, about what it looks like inwardly in thought and feeling, about what it looks like outwardly in action and in the consequence of all of these, in the various big details of your life. What is your philosophy of love? How should you behave around people, given your moral desires, but also given the corruption of human nature, but also given the kindness, the goodness of human nature, and so on? How should you conduct yourself in an imperfect world? See, this is applied philosophy. This is philosophy in your real life, in your home, in your workplace, in the world. How should you conduct yourself in this imperfect world that you live in? What is the best thing that you can do with your life? There's a big one. Do you believe these things because they're truths about the world, or because they're morally good? Or do you believe them because of your hurt, because of your egotism? There's a strong one as well. Is this just an expression of your psychology, of your neuroticism? Is it just an expression of your wounds or of your egotism? Or these truths about the world, are these the best truths that you could live by? You could meditate for a very long time on that one. I suggest doing that. In fact, that's an important one. And I guess in line with that, how do you purify your vision? How do you see more clearly? How do you get past your ego? How do you get past your narcissism? How do you get past your hurt and your wounds to see things more clearly? Can you do that? Yes, you can, but how do you do it? What does it take? What do you need to do every day? What kind of person do you need to become? You could go on. So what you're doing here is you're examining your philosophy. Maybe you're making it clear to you for the first time, but some of these things you would have reflected on, and so you're renewing them. But by examining your philosophy and by renewing it, you can transform your head, you can transform your heart, you can transform your hands. You can create a joyful, meaningful, good life. That's the point of this. So have fun. This is serious fun. This will lead you to a much better life and to becoming a much better person. So good luck.